Well, hello, I'm John Etheridge, editor of the Kendall County Record newspapers and KendallCountyNow.com. Today, Wednesday, September 9th, on behalf of Shaw Media Local News Network, we're pleased to host a joint interview with candidates for the Kendall County Board District 1 in the November 3rd general election. Joining me in interviewing the candidates is Katie Finlan, our Kendall County government reporter.
Hi, everyone.
Yep. We welcome the Kendall County Board District 1 candidates and thank them for their participation here. The candidates are present, Audra Hendricks, Anthony Maglieri, and Todd Milliron. Absent from this meeting here, I've got Scott Gengler is just joining us. Scott Gengler has just joined us. He's connecting to audio. And Brian DeBolt, if he cares to join us, he's our 5th candidate. So Scott, welcome. We're just getting started here. We are recording, if you can hear us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, welcome to our discussion here. You haven't missed a question yet. We're just kind of going through, I'm going through the introductions. This is John Etheridge.
Okay.
In the district board race, District 1 board race, voters will be asked to cast ballots for two of the 5 candidates. Our format here will be as follows. I will ask each of the candidates to introduce themselves, and they will have up to 2 minutes to give their introductions. After that, we will follow a question and answer format where Katie and I will ask each candidate the same series of questions, and they will take turns answering. Candidates will have up to 2 minutes to respond to each question. And again, I would appreciate you, keeping your answers concise so we can cover a number of topics here in this hour. And with that, we will begin. And I think the first the question I'll direct to Todd Milliron. And the question is, what is the most significant challenge now facing the board and county government, and how should the board deal with it?
John, when we talked, you said we would have like a 2-minute intro.
You're right. 2-minute intro. I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead.
I'm prepared to go for that.
Okay. Well, now you know the first question, everybody. So yeah, give me 2-minute intro.
All right. May I start?
You may start.
Hi, I'm Todd Milliron, neighbors and fellow citizens of the County of Kendall. I'm running to be your District 1 Kendall County Board representative. If you have any questions about local government, please give me a call. My phone number is 630-553-9590. I get phone calls from county citizens all the time about local government issues. Some citizens decide to call and they want to talk to someone who's willing to stand up for their beliefs. A lot of those times, those particular calls pertain to someone and something that just does not feel right to that particular caller. I will not ask someone to do something I will not do myself. So I choose to get involved. It has not always been a cordial affair. Certain local government officials have refused to change. If I cannot get them to see the light, I will make them feel the heat, and have done so. I've ruffled a few elected officials' feathers in the last 14 years. I'm not afraid to hold anyone accountable for their behavior in office. I expect all elected officials to be held to a higher standard. I, too, also abide by those same standards in my insurance practice and have done so for the last 30 years. They are not Republican standards. They are not Democrat standards. Simply, it means being a good listener, living by the golden rule, telling the truth, and taking needed action when necessary. I'm the only one in this county election that has a documented history 14 years of consistently doing something, trying, year in and year out, working to lower your property taxes, by ferreting out waste, fraud, and abuse. My mom did not raise a quitter, and there's still much work to be done here in Kendall County. I need your vote to accomplish even more as your county board representative. I'm asking you to vote for me, not my party, as I'm running as an independent, so I have no political party. My allegiance is only to you, the property taxpayer. I want to be your voice on the county board to lower government spending. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Anthony Magliari, if you would introduce yourself.
Great. Thanks a lot, John, and thanks for holding this candidate forum. Katie as well, looking forward to your questions. I loved your reporting and your Twitter page. A lot of great information you can be found there, so it's a really great resource to the community. My name's Anthony Magliari. I'm running to support or to represent District 1 as well as everyone else on this call. I'm specifically running for the Kendall County Board because I'd like to see more rural representation from the rural parts of our county. I don't think that there's enough representation from those of us that live out in the rural areas. Things like the Millington Bridge that was closed for over 3 years. Things like that shouldn't, and I don't think would happen if we had better representation from those of us that use the bridge and use the rural parts of our county. I'm also interested in controlling property taxes. I think you'll hear pretty much every one of us talk about that. I want to look at ways to be responsible with the government's, with our Kendall County government's money specifically. I would focus on trying to do things that are going to be good for our community for the long term, not things that are just short, like maybe technology purchases that are going to be outdated soon, investing in things like, bike paths, and certainly not wasting money by demolishing bridges that don't necessarily need to be demolished at this time, in my opinion. And I know a lot of board members believed in that too, but unfortunately, it was unable to get that done. And here we are with the whole problem of that pollution in the river. Beyond that, beyond what we can do at the county board level, I think we need to be really realistic about property taxes. The county board controls about 8 to 9% of the county tax bill. There are many other taxing bodies. We need to look at working with those other groups and figuring out ways to lower those taxes. And I'd be happy to talk more about that later. But we can't assume that the county board at only 8 or 9% of the pie of your county tax bill can really move the needle. We can do things, and we should try to do things, but don't let anyone tell you that, they're going to really lower your taxes on the county board unless they have ways to address those other parts of the pie. Other things I want to talk to you about. I think that the county board should better explain things. I like a lot of the work that Todd's done, and as far as transparency and getting things to be transparent, I agree with him. Those are important things, but I'd also like to see better job explaining these things, like the county boardroom renovation. It's a large $442,000 line item, but there's a lot of things going on to that I think you could build the public's support for if it was better explained. Start doing things like having a PowerPoint slide, or go over main points at the main board meetings. I know a lot of those things are done in committee, but I think Audra does a pretty good job of trying to explain things when it's her time to talk at the county board meeting as well. But I'd like to see more multimedia, more slides, more explanation, more sharing your screen, more using, informing the citizenry better. And I think that's probably about my 2 minutes, so I don't want to hog it up. We'll have plenty of time to discuss many of these other items.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Scott Gengler, if you would introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, John and Katie, for having me on today. Scott Gengler, current District 1 Kendall County Board member. I'm running as a Republican in this upcoming November general election. So far, as far as how I feel, what we need to do and continue to do on the board is continue to be fiscally responsible. I believe we have done that by being more conservative with our PTEL. We haven't extended that and raised that tax as far as the amount that we can ask on the tax. Another thing, I think it's important that we are also working on improving transparency. We're working on codification right now at the county board level. We just went over a technology piece that we're going to be implementing into our website, so that people are able to go onto the website and see all the codes throughout the county. That's something brand new that we're just working on right now. Another huge thing that we're also working on and currently starting is improving infrastructure. Within the last year and a half that I've been on the board, it's been a great opportunity to bring in state and federal funds to help resurface Route 47. We're also, receive funds to improve or to build the bridge over El Domain Road over the Fox River. So that's going to be, a great advantage to the residents of our county. By improving infrastructure, this will help to promote business into our county, which will then hopefully alleviate the tax burden on, our constituents in District 1 and in Kendall County. So, those things that we've done in just a short time since I've been on the board have been great. We're continuing to work hard. We have a great staff that works in the county building. We have a great sheriff. We have a great court system. Our health department does a great job. Our coroner is a great person to work with. And it's just been an honor and a privilege to be serving our constituents here in District 1. And I would very much appreciate your vote in this upcoming November 3rd election. And remember, early voting starts September 24th. Thank you.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Scott. Audra Hendricks.
Hello, and I would like to say thank you as well for having this event. It's wonderful. And it's nice that it's digital because I think we'll be able to disseminate it more widely, and that's always important. I have been on the county board since 2016, and I was originally motivated to run by the need for a more researched and less emotional voice on the board. I think Kendall County is a really critical transition period now because we're going from being more of a small town type of county to bigger cities and bigger towns, and that requires a transition in the type of management that is controlling the county. So that was my initial reason for running. I too believe that we need to bring down our property taxes here, and I have a very firm understanding that the county's portion of that tax bill is very small. The best way that we can do that on a local level is to increase our tax base by bringing in businesses, and Chairman Greider and I have been working together to do that for the last 4 years. There's several messages and programs that we've been working on that actually take time to build consensus, and I think that's one of the messages I want to get out to people is that it's not just your elected officials, but it's your participation and your opinion being politely and civilly expressed by contacting us that really does make a difference. And the transparency for the dissemination of information that goes out is also important, and I've also been a big advocate of that since the beginning in 2016, including the ability for people to click on their tax bill online and find out exactly where it goes, because I think that transparency and disseminating as much information as possible about how your local government works and where you can apply pressure to change it is the most important and most effective thing that any government can do to make sure that the people working in it are representative of the constituency's will. And I don't really want to talk about other issues beyond that because this is a chance to get to know me. I'll brag a little bit. I have the world's most beautiful daughter, and I've been married, not for a very long time, but to the man I've been with for almost 35 years now. And I have a bachelor's degree in business management and information technology. I completed the information technology portion of that at Northwestern University. And I have a master's degree in management and leadership. And I bring that up because I think that skill set, that business background goes a long way to helping to understand all the sides of an issue and its solutions and working to find the best solution based on data and facts and not any kind of animosity or competition among members. That's not what we're there to do. We're there to find the right decision, the best decision, and to do that in the most earnest and honest way we can. That's it.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Audra. Now we'll get to my list of questions here. The first question would be, again, is, and I'll direct this to, let's start with Anthony Magliari here. What is the most significant challenge now facing the board and county government, and how should the board deal with it?
Thanks a lot, John. So if you talk to voters, which I've been doing all over the place, they will tell you over and over again that their number one issue is probably the property tax bill. And I think you've heard a lot of good ideas on how to do that. I think this county has been historically well managed. I think, Scott mentioned economic development. He's right. That's one of the best possible ways to, widen out this tax base. I have a YouTube video where I go with in depth on the property tax bill and things you can do to solve this issue. And it really comes down to property taxes, to economic development, and also finding better ways to fund our schools, because the schools are probably about 70% of the property tax bill. And we all want good schools. We just need to find the best way to fund those schools, and asking the residents directly to take that out of their property tax bill isn't really appreciated by these residents when they have, property tax bills of $5,000 or $10,000 that they have to pay every year, write a check for. So we talk about that. You can go to my YouTube channel, Elect Anthony Maglieri, and you can see a couple of different videos, one with highlights of things we can do and one with a deep dive for about an hour, going through 2 different property tax bills in Kendall County, mine in Newark, and current board member Robin Vickers in Oswego. We talk about exactly line by line where every dollar goes, and to help educate voters on that. Beyond that, I think really what's important is how we grow. I think Audra mentioned some of that too, trying to grow the county in the right way, build the infrastructure to have the kind of county that we want to see in the future, whether it's Metro service, which you'll probably ask about later, or just having the right roads, having cycling trails that connect, things that are going to bring people to the county that want to live here and have this a great place for the long term is probably one of the biggest things. I agree with Audra. We're at a developing point in this county where the type of things that we do now are going to have a major impact for the way this county looks, 10 and 20 years from now.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Todd Milliron, what is, in your view, the most significant challenge facing the board and county government, and how should the board deal with it?
I had already talked about property taxes, so I won't harp on that too much, but one thing I've been advocating for the last 10 years is to put the county checkbook online, and we can see the invoices that go with the bills or the checks that get written. And the board's pretty close to be doing that. I know Audra's really excited about some software that they're talking about right now, and to me, it's long overdue. That said, I'll go to where I think we're in the census. Census will be over here in another month, 30 days roughly. And after we do the census, we go into what I call the redistricting cycle. And it's something I've been through before 10 years ago, attending board meetings that far back and continuously since. Anyway, we'd have 2 very big districts with 5 board members. And there's a part of me that says, if I ask a citizen who your board member is, a lot of times they can't tell me. And if it is in whatever District 1 or District 2, it's 1 of 5. And so I have a plan. It's waiting for the census data to come back out. We'll tweak it, but it was something that got a lot of serious consideration 10 years ago. And I'd like to go to 5 2-member districts where we have 5 districts, and the county board members would alternate 4-year terms, and we would have county board people that are represented, and they're the ones that were elected, and then they didn't come in second or third, and they would have to be the first one, the top vote getter in their district to get it. And the people that are in that district, which will be much smaller, probably around 23,000 residents, would have more direct representation. Anthony talks about the rural area of the county. That particular part of the county in my redistricting plan would have its 2 representatives. It's pretty much like 5 townships, which would be like Big Rock, Fox, Lisbon, Seward, and I'm drawing a blank now. Anyway, the other one. It's down there on the southern end of the county. That said, we would have that representation he's seeking. And not only that, but the way the districts are drawn is that the way redistricting works is it's supposed to follow township lines as much as possible. And then when the municipalities get involved, you try to follow those lines. And the plan I put together does that. So Oswego would basically have 2 representatives. The Boulder Hill area would have 2. Montgomery would have 2. Yorkville would have 2. And Plano and the rest of the county would have their 2. So I think we would have much more accountability if we would go to smaller districts, and it wouldn't cost anything additional to do so because we still would have 10 county board members.
Very good, very good. Scott Gengler, what is the most significant challenge now facing the board and county government, and how should the board deal with it?
Sure. I guess there are a couple of challenges I feel that are facing the county board. Many people have touched on, the high tax bill that everybody gets on their property taxes. B, I think would be also the infrastructure and state, local highways. If you drive on our county roads, we have some of the best roads around. And a lot of folks talk about, the drive all the way up to, Sugar Grove, get on 56 and 88. I think that challenge, securing the funding from the state and federal government, continues to be one of the top challenges I feel. Working through that, working with the lobbyists that we have working for us right now, helps to secure that funding and bring that infrastructure improvement into place. And I think if we can get through that challenge of working both with local governments, with the municipalities, Plano, Oswego, Yorkville, Newark, Lisbon, Platteville, collaborating together, we can help improve that infrastructure. The infrastructure, like I said before, will be able to invite and promote business and new, residents into the county that eventually will hopefully, lower that tax bill. And, we'll have smooth thoroughfares, lower tax bills, better businesses in the area, and that'll help to alleviate, that tax that burden that we have on our property owners right now. So it's a compilation of things, I guess, that kind of all rolled together. I think the COVID pandemic has also been a challenge to the county board lately. Especially, it's fallen upon the small businesses in our county as well too. So we continue to work with them and give out grants and loans to those small businesses to help them be successful as we move forward. And that's really, how we deal with just a couple of challenges that we have right now. One thing I'd like to highlight here too, most people don't know, is if you're a county board member, you're also on a commissioner for the Forest Preserve. So those are 2 different entities, but you sit on the county board and you also sit on as a commissioner on that Forest Preserve district as well too. So most recently, the bridge in Millington and Millbrook have both been challenges. Thankfully, we have, like Anthony mentioned earlier, we have fixed that Millington Road Bridge, and that's open, as most people know. And then also the tear down that's been long set in stone as far as the bridge is concerned in Millbrook. Unfortunately, there was a push to salvage that, and I too was for salvaging it, but at the end of the day, the funding wasn't there, and it was a long, arduous process, and we had to make a difficult decision. So that's probably been another difficult challenge that we've had lately as far as what's happening with the Forest Preserve District.
Thank you, Scott. Audra Hendricks, what in your view is the most significant challenge facing county government, and how should the board deal with it?
Well, I have to, everything that everyone has mentioned is a valid answer. And so that's where I'm going to start by saying any C-level manager or higher will tell you there's never just one most important thing. Everything is interdependent and it's a giant system and it's like a lot of spinning plates and you got to keep them all spinning. That is the most overarching thing that faces the county, is keeping all of those plate and systems working together well. Within that, the pandemic is obviously a big issue. It's a big issue for public health. It's a big issue for our local businesses and economy. It's a big issue because it affects our revenues that are coming in from state taxes as well as local taxes. It's a big issue because it's affecting our children. So if you can't list that, in your top 10, then I would say you shouldn't be at the table. Then following that is all of these things that have been mentioned. In an effort to promote transparency and improve it, you need better technology. In order to do that, you have to manage your funds the best. In order to do that, you need to make sure you're keeping on top of FAT, that you're servicing your debt and that you're refinancing it so that that number actually went down for us in the county. You need to manage FAT. I can actually say this county has been very responsible about looking for the FAT and keeping it to a minimum. The board really is very diligent about that. We're not in the business of earmarking funds. We struggle a lot with very difficult decisions that are based on finances we don't have and aren't willing to raise taxes to get. So I think the most important issue that's facing Kendall County is that, like any large organization, they have a number of issues that are extremely important. So trails, public transportation, that's my timer to let me know.
Okay. All right. At this point, I'll turn the questioning over here to my colleague, Katie Finland. Katie.
Hey, everyone. And thank you again for taking the time to join us today. And I'm sure our readers feel the same way. And actually, Audra, I'll have you start first for this one, because speak of the devil, is there fat in the county budget? And if so, what will you do to eliminate it while maintaining or even expanding current service levels?
I have to tell you, it's a miracle that we've been able to maintain a lot of the service levels that we have. We run a very tight crew, particularly in comparison to other counties in terms of personnel. It's important to remember that elected officials run their offices and their budgets in the way that they want to, and that's their right. When it comes to hearings, we definitely, I think if you come and sit in on the budget hearings, you'll see us asking questions and wanting to get into the details of necessary spending. Our largest costs are always personnel. Our revenues have just recovered from the collapse in 2008. So I suppose from a certain viewpoint, some people might find some fat in places that, upon really digging deep, would determine aren't necessarily fat. There's been a lot of expenditures that we are long overdue. And I think sometimes that's perceived as fat. So for example, Scott Gengler and Todd have mentioned this software that's being implemented that is part of porting transparency in spending out to the public. That's a major lift. And because we waited so long to do that, it cost us a lot more in time and energy and money than it would have had we kept up. And that's kind of like the dark side of technology, right? You have to keep up with it. So the kinds of things that I would view as fat probably wouldn't be, we probably wouldn't be able to cut a lot of that as much as you think. We have capital spending budgets that I would like to be able to reallocate that we can't necessarily reallocate. And this is where I think we need to do a better job. Like Anthony said, I so agree with him on this, and communicating just what the bounds, limits, and possibilities are of what we can do. And when we do find that, we do act. For example, this solar field, that's no small shake. That was a big deal. We entered into it. That's $165,000 a year minimum that we're going to save every single year for the next 20 years. So I think there are a number of instances we could look at where the county board really is dedicated to being very frugal and responsible with the public's money. And I don't find many instances where I think to myself, oh my gosh, that was a completely unnecessary spend. I really don't. And I'm just going to be honest with you about that. There's always room for improvement. Sometimes that's possible and sometimes that's not, depending on how funds are allocated.
All right, thank you, Audra. And Scott, same question. Is there fat in the county budget? And if so, what will you do to eliminate it while maintaining or even expanding current service levels?
Right. Thanks, Katie. When I think about fat, I think about wasteful spending. And since I've been on the board, we go through, whatever committee you're on, we go through our budget on a very, very thin, with a very thin tooth comb. It's great to see all the checks and balances that are in place with committee work, and then we go to the COW meeting and we have conversation there, and then we make our decisions at the county board meeting. So as far as the fat that is in the county budget, I mean, some people could maybe fine pick some areas of fat that might be there. But as far as me personally, I think we are running a very tight budget as far as that's concerned. And like Audra mentioned before, we're spending a good amount of time next week on Wednesday and Thursday from 8:30 to about 1:30, hearing budget presentations from all the directors and elected officials that are in our county, that are in our local government. So they have their own budgets that they manage as well too, like Audra mentioned. So, but as far as at our level, at the county board level, I don't really see necessarily wasteful spending going on. Like I said, our roads are in great shape. Our health department does a phenomenal job servicing the folks of Kendall County. Our sheriff's office and our county jail does a great job, as well as our jurisdiction, as far as the judges are concerned. They do a phenomenal job as well too, as far as spending. Our animal control, we just updated that building as well too. I think our animal control building is running really well financially, and we're not really wasting money. I think, like Audra mentioned before, Kendall County has been very fiscally responsible, and it's continued that way. And that's why, I am running to be on the board again here in November to continue that fiscal responsibility.
All right, thank you, Scott. And Todd, same question. Is there fat in the county budget? And if so, what would you do to eliminate it and still maintain or even expand current service levels?
All right. Well, I've been through 3 budget cycles. The last one I was at, I got my own book, just like the county board member did. Mr. Purcell had them make up a separate book for me. And I sat through that and was allowed to participate, even though I couldn't vote. That said, this 21% raise for the coroner that just was voted on June the 2nd, that would have been something I wouldn't have voted for. Our current coroner is presently very well compensated under the old schedule. And I did the analysis of the amount of work she did compared to the other counties that were picked out by population, which was basically the metric that the county board used, was only the population metric. And it looked like she was doing maybe about half the work of most of the other coroners and was only getting paid about $6,000 less. I think it was, she was doing 47% less work, and the other gentleman that was doing a little more over in DeKalb County only was getting paid like $6,000 more. So that said, I wouldn't have voted for that raise. Probably would have, in this COVID environment, had a flat, no raises for anybody due to COVID and that type of thing. That's what happened over in Oswego Township, and as you're aware, I've been going to those meetings regularly and probably have been for the last 5 years. And I think that it won't be long that they'll be lowering their levy. So if they lower the levy, that saves on property taxes. Another area I would look at, Audra mentioned personnel is number one. Number two is benefits. Our health insurance contract with the employees is something I'm well versed in. That's my background. I'm a health insurance agent. I do a lot of it. Presently, the county gives over $300,000 in cash money every year to fund the HSAs of those employees. I would change that to an HRA arrangement, health reimbursement account. The difference being is we do not write them a check. They turn in, they'd have a debit card and they would incur, the bills would still get paid, but not everybody's going to have a $1,500 whatever deductible satisfied. Right now, we fund that deductible, and whether they're healthy or sick, they keep that money each and every year. I would go to a health reimbursement arrangement where it's as needed, and if they needed $1,500 of benefits, they'd have it, but not everybody in our employees would have it. Right now, we have 100% claims in that because that's fully funded with cash money each year. So that would be a big savings. Audra mentioned the solar field. I was a big advocate for that, and I actually went over to Yorkville and put some pressure on those elected members of that city council to quit slow walking that and get it done. And with that pressure, it moved forward. So those would be some of the things I would like to talk about a little more. I would probably fund the health department a little more in this COVID environment. Every year during the budget cycle, there's a big discussion on how much we're going to make them pay for benefits, and they're the only department that we require to do that. It'd be cool if we could have something like the animal control where that basically is funded by the fees that are paid for the tags. So that department really isn't costing us anything. And if we could do more of that, that'd be great.
All right, thank you, Todd. And Anthony, same question. Is there fat in the county budget? And if so, what would you do to eliminate it while maintaining or even expanding the current service levels?
Right. Thanks, Katie. So I agree that a lot of the members have said here, historically, Kendall County has been at the county level pretty fiscally conservatively managed. I think they do a pretty good job. I do believe in paying people in what they're worth and trying to attract good talent to our jobs. I don't want massive raises for people, but I do think that if people are being underpaid, we don't want just anyone who will fill the shoes. We want people that are going to be good working at the county level. But as far as what we shouldn't have spent money on, I think that I talked to a lot of voters in this area, and the number one and number two things I hear about is the bridge demolition and the $442,000 for the boardroom renovation project. So on the river, I've been very vocal on social media and publicly that that bridge in Millbrook didn't need to come down. I think that at the very worst, we should have paid a few $1,000s to have some fencing put on either side and just gotten people away from it, and to which time later the political conditions would be more suitable in Millbrook to funding repairing it and making it a great trail between those two parks. We can't afford it now, or there wasn't the political will in that area to do that. Now that's fine. Put some fences on it. It wasn't a really important, timely thing in my view, and I think a lot of people agree with that. That $470,000 to tear that down, I would have never voted yes for that. Even if it was already decided it was hopeless, I still wouldn't have voted yes for that under any circumstance. Now there's a bunch of junk in the river, and it's $220,000. I think just about everyone on this call would agree that's still a terrible situation. And the county board room renovation, maybe a lot of those things on there are going to be good for the long term. The security systems and some of the technology, the actual things. I would recommend maybe doing it in phases and informing the public exactly like this is going to be the construction costs. These are going to be the local people that are going to be better, that are going to be compensated for the work. This is the technology part of the cost, and really laid it out and maybe phased it in over a couple of years, so you're not having taxpayers saying $500,000 for a single room when most people in District 1 don't even have a house that's worth $500,000. It just looks terrible. So those are the couple of areas where I think that it appears that there's some fat.
All right, thank you, Anthony. And John, I'll toss the potato to you, if you will.
Okay, caught. Uh, Question, we'll start here, the next one with Anthony, since you're kind of on deck, as it were, here. So how would you assess the county health department's response to the COVID-19 pandemic? Has it been effective, and is there room for improvement?
Well, I've talked to both the previous director of the health department at length and the current director of the health department, Van Gundy, at length, and I think they're doing a really, really good job. I think this COVID-19 situation is just terrible for so many reasons. I think that as far as promoting mask use and not trying to let it get politicized, they've been doing a great job. They're really responsive. You can call there, they'll answer the phone right away. They'll answer any questions you have. A lot of residents have asked me specifically, hey, are we being undercounted in Kendall County because we don't have a hospital in Kendall County? And I've asked that same question many times, and I get really quickly answers that no, it's based off of where the person lives, not where they get diagnosed or where they die. I think that if anything, Todd's probably right. They're a little bit underfunded there, and they're really, really running it, doing a fantastic job with the funds they have. I don't really have any criticism. I think it's really, really difficult, and I think the staff there has done a great job. And this is one of the many, many things they're dealing with day in and day out. The health department, I think, is pretty underappreciated as far as the amount of amazing things they do between helping people not freeze to death in the wintertime that need extra assistance, to making sure that our restaurants are safe to eat at, to being flexible and really promoting mask use and hand washing and social distancing. These are all really important things until we have a vaccine that we all unfortunately need to be doing to protect our neighbors and those most vulnerable, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Scott Gengler, how would you assess the county health department's response to the COVID-19 pandemic? Has it been effective, and is there room for improvement?
Yes, I mean, I agree with Anthony there. Dr. Tokars and Mrs. Van Gundy have done a great job setting up our health department moving forward and handling this pandemic. I speak very highly of them as far as our health department is concerned and serving the residents of this county. I can't say anything more than they've done a great job. They're good folks to work with. I sit on the Health and Environment Committee as well too, and both Ryan and Steve do a great job communicating how they get their information, their next steps as to handling this pandemic, and they're really on top of it. They're on top of all the changes that occur. Within the pandemic and the new research that comes out with that, and the new approaches to keeping it under control. I can't speak anything bad about that health department. They do a great job, and I'm glad to be able to work with them to help out our residents of our county.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Audra Hendricks, how would you assess the county health department's response to the COVID-19 pandemic? Has it been effective, and is there room for improvement?
There's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. Okay, no matter what you're doing, there's always room for improvement. And perfection is unachievable, but worth striving for, right? So I wish we had our own testing center here in Kendall County. I know our population is kind of small for the state to be funding that, but I can't help but think that everyone, because I hear this from both sides of the aisle, I hear that people would really prefer to have a testing center here in the county so that it was convenient, so that they could go when they're showing even just the slightest symptoms instead of waiting until they're kind of having a more serious episode of symptoms that may or may not end up being coronavirus. We don't know, but that's what I'm saying. I think that would be better. I think that the public health department does a great job with the funds that they have, and I can only imagine what they would do and the programs that they would be able to roll out if their funding was less hobbled. And by that, I think it's not entirely appropriate for us to ask them to insure themselves and to take that cost on 100% when the cost of that health insurance is shared for the other departments in the county. So I think we need to take a very long, hard, and honest look at that, because that has a direct impact on the programs that they're able to offer. We happen to have a really phenomenal public health department. Dr. Tokars was no small part of putting that together, and I know that Ms. Van Grundy will continue that legacy. But I can't help but think, and I mentioned this in 2016 when I was running, I can't help but think what kinds of programs they would be able to offer that would touch more people's lives, even more than they already do, if we didn't hobble them quite as much as we do economically.
Thank you, Audra. Todd Miller, how would you assess the county health department's response to the COVID-19 pandemic? Has it been effective, and is there room for improvement?
I think the county health department's been doing a phenomenal job with the resources they have. I think one of the biggest problems we have is and I'm an independent, so I'm going to go here, that no federal leadership. That's been a problem. It's been a mixed message. It's been politicized, and I'm a big believer in wearing masks. Washing your hands is it's not that hard if we all do our part, but we're not all pulling in the same direction, and it's coming from the top, and that's part of the problem. So what we got to work with here at the county, they've been doing a good job, and the funding that Audra's talking about, the sharing thing for the health insurance premium, if we would change that from what I said, this HSA cash arrangement to my HRA debit arrangement, there would be more than enough funds there to whatever actually pay the health departments, whatever part of their health insurance, and not asking them to kick in each year. And that money could be used for programs and stuff that they want to do over there. Right now, we're asking them to chip in, and it takes away from what they can do. So I'm hoping we'll get some COVID grants. That's a possibility. From what I understand, the tracing, that part of it, quarantining, all that is happening. But we need to do our part not to infect others. And like I said, that involves wearing a mask, washing your hands, keeping your distance, and doing the best you can to be vigilant. And like I said, we're doing the best we can. So far, so good for most of the schools around here. I mean, it's a challenging situation, but the health department's been doing it. They've stepped up, and they've been there for us. So I have no criticism for the job that's being done. And Omal was amazing. Okay, she's number 2 in the state right now, and just chaired a meeting on a video conference last week. So she's at the top, and I'm sure Rayanne can talk to her and get some guidance when we need it. So that's good. We got somebody close to the top at the state, and that connection's there. But we're missing some federal leadership, and it's very disappointing. And almost 190,000 people have died to date, and that's going up every day.
Thank you, Todd. I'll throw the ball over to Katie with the next question.
Got it. So the next question, and I'll have Scott start this time around. Does the county need to adjust its budget due to the pandemic, speaking of which? So what expenses or projects could be delayed, if any?
Yeah, that's a good question, Katie. At this time, as far as our budget is concerned, we're just getting started in those negotiations as far as next year. I think as far as what we're projecting coming in as far as tax revenues from this year, and then moving forward, we will have to take a look at some things where we may have to slim some of the aspects of our county down as far as funding is concerned. It's unbelievable times that we're going through right now. Financially, like I've said in the past, the county is in solid shape. So we may have to, as we progress forward, and we've been doing that right now with the Forest Preserve as far as the funding there. The Forest Preserve is on a very, very tight budget. So we're really, I'm working with David Garrett, and I'm also the finance chair for the Forest Preserve. So we're looking at ways that we can improve the budget as far as the Forest Preserve is concerned as well too. And that has been more impacted by the pandemic than actually our county board budget has. So we're really trying to work hard to be fiscally responsible on the Forest Preserve side of the position. On the county board side, we've just approved many contracts, union contracts with the employees in our county. We're moving forward with those. We really haven't looked to adjust anything as far as the budgets yet. But those are, things that we can always look at, reevaluate, and if need be, make adjustments. But at this point, we haven't really zoned in on specific areas that we need to make changes as far as our budget is concerned moving forward into 2021. Our fiscal year starts in December. So that's why we're doing those budget meetings right now. We'll be able to take some time, evaluate, and then move forward with the 2021 budget. But at the county board level, we just began that process. At the Forest Preserve level, we're heavily involved with doing that and making sure that we're on track to have a successful 2021 year next year.
Thank you, Scott. And Anthony, same question. So does the county need to adjust its budget due to the pandemic, and what expenses or projects could be delayed, if any?
Yeah, we just talked about fat in the budget. So I think I really like what the county did is so far as canceling all late fees on property taxes due to the pandemic. So I know that's going to have a financial impact. Insofar as the revenue that comes in, I think it was in the neighborhood of I don't remember at the last board meeting what they said it was, but maybe $400,000 or $500,000 of lost revenue. Maybe it was 300,000. I don't remember, but it was $300,000 to $400,000. So that has to come out of something. And when this pandemic isn't over yet either, so we don't even know. Hopefully we're on the good side of it, but a lot of experts have been saying that this could be just a terrible fall as the flu season combines with the pandemic and everyone's going inside and not able to gather outside. So we just have to see. Obviously, everything's on the table. I prefer delaying things that don't add value to the community for the long term, things like the bridge demolition, things like possibly phasing in the boardroom renovation, not doing it all at once. But there's plenty of other things that we can look at as well. But I think it's a pretty similar question to the fat question in the budget. So until we really know the full impact of the pandemic, it's really hard to say how much cutting should be done.
All right, thank you, Anthony. And Audra, same question. Does the county need to adjust its budget due to the pandemic, and what expenses or projects could be delayed, if any?
So in order to answer this question, everyone needs to understand that the money we're spending today was from the budget last year that were based on monies that came in from the taxes before that, right? So there's some spending that's going on now that was already in the budget. We're not actually killing our current funds to continue the projects that have already been budgeted for. And we are just now starting to see the numbers coming in about how the pandemic is affecting our revenues. So I think it's a little disconcerting for the public. For example, they might, like, Scott is saying, it hasn't really affected our spending yet. That's because the money that we're spending now was budgeted last year from funds that came from before that. So we're going to start seeing those impacts towards the end of this year and in the beginning of the year. And that's when we're going to really have a true handle on the impact to our revenues. Don't get me wrong, we do have some impacts to our revenue, and that's probably pretty obvious, but what's not obvious is how much our impact on the county board level hasn't been totally affected yet because of where our revenues come from, sales taxes, motor fuel taxes, a portion of the property taxes and whatnot. I imagine it will. And sadly, one of the first cuts that always happens is personnel. I have proposed this in the past and I will propose it again. I've seen it deployed. I've seen it work. I've seen unions happily jump onto it. So I won't tolerate that as an excuse this time to not put it forward. But one way that you can really save a lot of jobs, and we are running minimal, so we need to not get rid of a lot of people, is to ask everyone to just take a day off without pay. Sometimes you can ask them to work a day without pay. And if you can get enough people to agree to do that, you'd be amazed at how much you can still get done and how much of a budget you can save. That adds up to a lot of money really fast. So this is a difficult question to answer because the truth, Katie, is the bald-faced truth is we don't actually know what the full effect on our budget is going to be yet. And the bald-faced truth, and it's an ugly truth, is usually the first thing that starts to get cut is personnel.
Gotcha. And thank you, Audra. And Todd, same question. Does the county need to adjust its budget due to the pandemic, and what expenses and or projects could be delayed, if any?
I sort of come down on this about where Audra's at, is that it's you know, an unfolding issue right now on exactly how hard we're getting hit and how it's affecting us. And as Audra and Scott have alluded to, next week the budget hearings begin. So each elected official and department head lays out what their plan is for the next month, or actually the next year, the next 12 months from starting December 1st when our fiscal year starts. And from that point, we can start doing some of this planning. Jill would be able to tell us exactly, you know, what the revenues look like. She tracks that month to month, and we can come up with a plan. But right now, you're asking for something. We're in a current budget year that, you know, the boardroom, that ship's left the port. It's that job's going to get done. That's their meeting. Their next meeting is going to be over there at the old courthouse because the work's being done at the county admin building, and for that work, and in the boardroom and the security. And there's a part of me that says, you know, is it really necessary to have so much security to prevent people from sneaking in to pay their property tax bills? Because that was happening during earlier this year. That somebody wanted to pay early and they had to sneak in, and anyway, Jill wasn't happy about that happening. So I don't have a problem with somebody wanting to pay their property tax bill early if they want to. So that said, we need to keep an eye on the reserves over at the food pantry, and if the county needs to write a check to the food pantry, we should do so. They can buy $7 worth of food for every $1 that we send over there. And if there are people in need and there's food security, then we need to make sure that whatever we have the food. We have plenty of reserves here in our county to take care of the people that are being affected by this COVID, and we should do so. And the townships need to step up. Every one of them's got a general assistance fund that's basically almost tapped out or capped out, where they can't hardly take any more money. And if there's people in need, then they need to be sending those township supervisors and writing some checks to help them get them over this hump until we can get to a vaccine and people can start going back to work. So we're all in this together. I'm going to say that again. And we all need to pull in the same direction. And if somebody's in need, then we all need to step up and help. And so whatever we can do. I've donated to the food pantry already, and I would encourage others has the ability to do so. Don't be afraid to write a check to help his fellow person out in this county that's was affected by COVID.
All right, thank you, Todd. And John, you're up.
Well, I'll tell you, we are right up against an hour here. So a few more minutes by my count. So have time for one more question here, and I think you could probably answer it fairly quickly. And I'll start with Audra. If elected, will you enroll in the county provided health insurance program? Why or why not?
Hello. I was enrolled, and then we finally were able to get the employer sourced insurance through my husband. It's just a really strange situation with his union, and you have to have, like, I don't know, a black toe 3 times a week, and then you finally qualify. So I did manage to take us off the county health plan. Unfortunately, now my husband is looking at being unemployed until there's a vaccine. So there's a pretty good chance we're going to lose our employer-based health care again, at which point I will likely sign up for the health care offered through the county again. And I don't see any reason to lie or hedge about that. I think anybody in my position would make that choice for their family.
Okay, thank you, Audra. Scott Gengler, if elected or if re-elected, will you enroll in the county provided health insurance program? Hello, Scott, is he there?
Yeah,
Oh.
John.
Did you hear the question?
Yes. No, I will not enroll in the healthcare system for the county.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Anthony, will you enroll in the county provided health insurance?
No, I have employer-based private health insurance, and I do think the question is a little unfortunate, but I understand taxpayers want to be fiscally conservative, and they don't want to be paying for that unnecessarily. It does kind of have the impact of dissuading people that might otherwise have time but not have a job to do that. But at the same time, no, I have great health insurance, and I don't anticipate ever needing to use county resources for my health care. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd, will you county?
I've been very vocal about this, so I would have to say that I will not take it. I will also say my wife's lost her job. We are on Obamacare or whatever the marketplace, and we'll continue to use that plan. And if I am elected, that $17,000 of income can be used to help pay my health insurance. We will not take the county's health insurance plan.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I want to thank you all for participating today in the very first Zoom candidate forum that we've done here with the Record newspapers and Shaw Media. So again, thank you, and good luck to all in the election.